Hey everybody, my name is Josh LaFleur from Late Start Piano. Today's video is going to be helping you to stop starting and then stopping the piano over and over. So this is really dedicated to the people who have played in the past. They want to continue to play, but they keep finding themselves quitting for a week or 2 months or 2 years, and then they end up coming back in. How can you start to play and start to practice and then you never quit? So if that's your goal, is you want to kind of stop jumping in and out, this video is designed to help you. So without further ado, point number one is you need to make a decision. And you have to actually take some time to think about this. Because once this decision is made, then we're going to move on to point number two. But it all starts with the decision. Do you really want to play the piano long term? That's only a question that you can answer. Are you wanting to play long term? Do you see yourself actually practicing consistently? Do you see a brighter future or a certain ability that you want to have in the future? Do you see yourself getting better? Do you see yourself continuing to play for a long time? Right? These are some of the questions that you need to answer. If you are kind of not sure, maybe you're a little wishy-washy, you don't know if you want to play, you don't know what you want to do, then it might be time to just stop playing altogether. But if you do have a vision of yourself getting better, you know that you are willing to stay consistent and you're willing to practice, then the decision's made. You are going to play the piano, you are a piano player, and now we can move on. So after that decision is made, point number two is you need to make a schedule. So the decision is made mentally. You've decided, I am going to play the piano. I do want to continue. I want to stop stopping all the time and be consistent. Point number two is make a schedule. So what days are you going to practice? How long are you going to practice? What are you going to practice? Those are just some of the questions that need to be answered. And you don't have to go all in on this right away. So it's not like you stopped playing for 3 months and now all of a sudden you have this big motivational rush and you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to play 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to do that. You can if you want to, if you think that you can stick with that schedule. But if you're an adult and you have a lot of other things going on, maybe you have a business, you have a full-time job, whatever it is, you probably can't practice every single day for 7 hours a day. So in this point, the second point, you want to make a schedule that you can actually adhere to and that you can stick with. So the bare minimum, I would say, that you can actually show noticeable improvement at the piano is practicing at least 4 days per week, 20 minutes per day. That is the bare minimum. So you can even start with a little bit less. Maybe things are really crazy right now and you just want to be super consistent. So maybe you can just practice for 3 days a week, 20 minutes per day, and try to string a couple weeks together, maybe a month of practicing 3 days per week, 20 minutes per day. But the point is, you need a schedule. You need something that can actually hold you accountable, which leads us into point number three, is you need to adhere to the schedule. So point number one, you made the decision, you are going to stick with the piano, you are going to put the work in. Point number two, you made your schedule, you know what days, what times you should be practicing, what you're going to be practicing, all of that. Point number three, this is where a lot of people struggle, because up to this point, you probably have taken these steps before, right? In the past, you probably decided, quote unquote, that you were going to stick with it. You maybe made your practice schedule and then you fell off. Maybe you started a new job, maybe you got married, maybe you have kids, maybe you got sick, maybe you got fired from your job, maybe you had other commitments going on, whatever it is. And this is where people start to, again, fall off the wagon. Point number three is sticking to the schedule. So let me give you a couple pointers here in point number three. First of all, you need to go back to point number one and make sure this is a decision. This should be a non-negotiable. So if you have made that decision in point number one, that this is the way it is, point number three, you need to really internalize that and make it a non-negotiable. What does it mean to have something as a non-negotiable? It means it doesn't matter if you're sick, it doesn't matter if you're traveling, it doesn't matter if you don't feel like it, it doesn't matter if you're tired, if it's cold outside, if it's raining outside, none of that matters. This is a non-negotiable, which means it gets done every single day that you scheduled, no matter what. And once you have that mindset, things start to work out. Okay. So once you actually have it as a non-negotiable, it will get done. I played piano every day for a year straight. Started in September of 2023, and I played every single day, and I still have played every single day since September 2023 until now. And it's not like I'm some kind of magical creature. It's not like I am some kind of superhero, some kind of, divine being or some kind of super hidden talent. It's not that I don't work and I'm on vacation and I just have an endless supply of money and an endless supply of time. It's not that nothing ever came up and it's not that I never wished I didn't have to practice, because those days all happened. I felt sick. I didn't feel like doing it. I was tired and I didn't want to play, but I played anyway. And how I was able to do that is because I made this a non-negotiable. That's one thing I did. Another thing I did was I played early. So I knew that I had to be at work at 8:30. I had to be clocked in. I know I had to leave for the office, let's say at 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. I wanted to play at least 30 minutes per day prior to that. So that was my commitment. That was my decision. That was my schedule. 7 days per week, at least 30 minutes per day. And to make sure I never missed this, I would play in the mornings before work. So I would get up, I would brush my teeth, have a glass of water, let's say at like 5:30, 6, and I would just play for 30 minutes. Now, no matter what else happens, if I blow a tire going into work, if I have some emergency phone call, my pet gets sick, they have to go to the vet, something else comes up, it doesn't matter because it's done. I can check that off the list and I'm done for another day. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do besides doing it in the morning and making it a non-negotiable is you want to set perimeters and set boundaries. So that's another good thing about playing in the morning, is that you can set boundaries because nobody's up. Nobody's interrupting your practice. Nobody is calling you. There's no other commitments that need to be done. But let's say you can't practice in the morning for whatever reason. Maybe you have to practice midday, and maybe you live with somebody or you have pets that need your attention, or your girlfriend or boyfriend or spouse, they need your attention. Maybe you have kids, the kids are crying, whatever. You need to block out 30 minutes anyway. So this 30 minutes, you need to understand, everybody else needs to understand that you are unreachable. So you can turn your phone off, turn the notifications off on your phone, try to go into a room where you're by yourself, or hang up a curtain, whatever it is that you need to do, and hang up a sign. Everybody knows at this time, on these days, you are not reachable. So if you can't do it in the morning, this is the next best thing. But all of those things, those three things I just mentioned, making it non-negotiable, setting boundaries, and doing it in the morning are three very helpful tips. It's what I use to make sure I played every single day for a year. And these are things that can help you stick to your schedule. And another thing you can do as well is you can actually have a calendar where you check your days off every day. And you can hang that right above your piano, in the bathroom window, on the fridge, wherever it is that it will be visible. So every day or every 4 days, whatever your practice schedule is, you're marking off the day, you're checking it off. So now you have a physical representation, a visual of all the days you practiced. And what's going to happen is once you start stringing these days together, you're not going to want to break the chain. You're not going to want to break the chain. You're going to be motivated and you're going to actually want to check off and check off and check off days. So that can be another helpful tip that you can use to make sure that you're adhering to the schedule and you don't fall back into quitting. Another point is, if you've tried these things before and this isn't working, or maybe you tried it before and it's not working for you for whatever reason, the last thing that you can do, or even if they are working, another valuable thing that you can do is get a teacher. Get a teacher, have lessons, and that person will hold you accountable. So you will pay them $60 an hour, whatever it is, whatever the rate is, and they will hold you accountable. You will have weekly lessons with them, and they're going to tell you what they are expecting from you the next time you guys meet. And that's going to force you to practice, because you're going to say, damn, I have a lesson coming up. I need to make sure that I can do all of these things that my teacher wanted me to do. And they can even check in with you during the week. You can send them a text, whatever. And they are there to hold you accountable. That's the great thing about having a teacher, is you don't have to be this super disciplined person, because your teacher can help you in that aspect. So teacher is the best thing you can do no matter what for your piano development, whether it's actually getting better skill-wise, whether it's holding you accountable, whether it's making sure you stay consistent. All of those things a teacher can really help out with. So if you are serious, you have made this non-negotiable, I would suggest that you make that investment. And the last thing that you want to do, last point here, as far as staying consistent and breaking this cycle of starting and stopping, is you want to always make sure that you're doing something fun. So I don't want you to get caught up in you're playing scales and you're playing hand-in exercises for 3 hours a day. Because if you're doing that, it's going to be very difficult for you to stay motivated and for you to stay energetic and to stay excited about practicing the piano if all you're doing is technique stuff, because that will get boring very quickly. So I would suggest either the last 5 minutes of your practice session, even is all you need, the last 5 minutes, do something fun. And fun is up to you. Some suggestions, you can do some kind of improvising the last 5 minutes if you like that. You can try to do some ear training. So maybe you pull up a song the first 10 seconds or 30 seconds, and you try to see how much of that song you can play within 5 minutes. Maybe it's just doing whatever you want, just experimenting on the piano, literally hitting random keys and trying to figure out what sounds good. Maybe it's playing a song you've always wanted to play, but you haven't gotten around to it because you're just not there yet. Whatever it is, do something fun for the last 5 minutes of your practice session so that you can end on that positive note, end on that good note. It's going to give you some energy. It's going to give you the motivation, and it's actually going to be enjoyable, because you don't want your practice sessions to be all technique or all very granular, very focused in on your pieces, because sometimes that's not fun. And if it's not fun, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then you're probably not going to stick with it. So just to recap here quickly about how to break the cycle of starting and stopping the piano. Point number 1, you need to make a decision. Point number 2, have a clear schedule. Point number 3, stick to and adhere to that schedule. We talked about putting up the poster for the checkmark days. We talked about getting a teacher. We talked about doing it in the morning. We talked about setting boundaries. Point number 4 is if all that fails, or even if it doesn't, you can pay for a teacher. Point number 5 is you want to do something that you actually enjoy. So with all of that said, all of these things, if you implement them, I promise, will help you stay much more consistent on the piano. You can finally break this cycle of starting and stopping and starting and stopping. With all that said, if that is helpful to you, I can give you more value. I have my website, www.latestartpiano.com. Link is in the description below. I'm giving out a free PDF. This free PDF guide has 34 essential tips for the adult beginner piano player. We're going to be talking more about your mindset and approach to playing the piano. We're going to be talking about practice strategies, music theory, and at the end, we'll walk you through how to play your very first song. To get that, just go click on that link below, latestartpiano.com, and you will click on that bright purple button on that page, enter in your name and email address, and you will have instant access to the free guide. In addition, if you do want to take it a step further, you do want to have somebody that holds you accountable, somebody who can work on your musicianship as well as your technique, I am offering lessons right now via Zoom. To get started with that, send me an email at latestartpiano@gmail.com. Link to that is also below. We'll set up a day and a time that works best for you. With all that said, again, my name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano. Happy practicing.